So the Pixel Buds Pro 2 are now here, and they feature some supposed key improvements over the original Pixel Buds Pro. 2 years after that release, Google's trying to incorporate better sound, Gemini interaction, and battery life into a design that does the job, but how is the follow-up? Well, let's get into it. With the Pixel Buds Pro 2 tucked away in that carry case, I think you'd be forgiven for thinking there's nothing different about this latest pair of earbuds. The case is still the same eggshell colour and shape, with a really similar texture. After all, if it ain't broke, don't try and fix it. Once the case is open though, Google's changes are pretty easy to see. The new Pixel Buds Pro 2 earbuds take up way less physical space with a much smaller and rounded chassis. The G logo, that's still prominently displayed on the outside of each earbud, and the only other landmark feature is a small mic grill along the top and bottom of each of these earbuds faceplates. There's also a slight cutout on the bottom of the Pixel Buds Pro 2 carry case next to the USB-C charge point. This is for Find My Device functionality, which is brand new on the Pixel Buds Pro 2. So during the initial setup process, you will be asked if you want to pair these buds with your account. Then, just like your phone or the tablet or anything else, you can locate the earbuds and the case if you do misplace them. The speaker itself, which this cutout is, isn't the loudest, but you should be able to hear it from across a room, wedged in between a couch cushion or even under a chair or other furniture. I think it's a nice touch if you're prone to losing your stuff, and it adds a little bit. Obviously it makes it easier to notice which is the newer version. Google has made some stark changes to the earbud design this time around though over the predecessor, like the new profile, it being much less like a bean and more like a little wheel almost. In any case, it's definitely more concentric and takes up less space when they're placed in your ears. There's also a small rubber fin sticking out of the bud to allow you to lock it into place once you do slot it into your ear. This comes in handy when you know that you'll be doing more intense movements like running or even general exercise. The buds are just more secure and stable when you're moving once they're fitted. The change is definitely immediately noticeable when putting them into your ears for the first time. It allows you to casually listen in a position where no part of the earbud, save for the rubber tip, actually touches the inside of your ear, and it means that it prevents that feeling that you've had the buds in for a while and certain parts of your ear start to become a little bit sore. I've not really had that issue this time around with the Pixel Buds Pro 2, however the earbuds, I will say, can feel a little bit cheap compared to the previous generation, and that's likely owed to the decreased mass because these are only about 4 grams each. They feel well made, well put together, but slightly hollow, and again that's due to the decrease in mass. Of course the in-ear feel is all a matter of preference. The new design doesn't give the same initial feeling of having a bud seated in your ear quite properly. It almost feels like it's hanging there or floating there. My podcast host Abner doesn't find that feeling as secure, but does note that the comfort difference after an hour is a lot more appealing, and I do agree with him here. I personally can go either way, but I see both points of preference. As an aside, something to note that because the earbuds essentially float supported by those silicone tips, touch controls do now have much more of a heavier echo. Tapping to play or pause can, in some cases I will say, be almost painful because your ear canal absorbs a lot more of that impact. It's something that's instantly noticeable coming from the previous generation. Because each earbud is a lot smaller as well, the activation region requires slightly more precise taps or swipes, and the touch controls, I will say, are still among the best out there. It's just you need to be a little bit more accurate when trying to control your phone through the earbuds, as you may end up tapping on the edge of the earbud itself and the inside of your ear. When you do put these earbuds into your ears, I will say the sound connection is also improved. It's like a soft bell rather than a horrid dull tone, and it's in keeping with the Gemini Live startup sound effect. I really do like this change. It doesn't feel like, you wouldn't think it would be a big change, but it does make a lot of difference when you're putting them in and out of your ears on a regular basis. The Pixel Buds Pro 2 do come with a nice little battery booth, both in the earbuds themselves and the case, and that's likely the reason that the case itself does feel a little bit heavier than the previous model, despite the fact that the earbuds are lighter. Both with ANC on and off, the earbuds get an extra hour of lifespan. Through the case, however, the Pixel Buds Pro 2 get at least 10 more hours of lifespan, which I do really think is a big bonus. That is 30 and 48 hours of ANC on and off, respectively. So my times with the buds hasn't been truly extensive. I've had them for a little while now, but my usage and battery estimates are pretty much lining up with that same track. I've been thoroughly happy with how much I can get out of these earbuds, and it's very, very impressive day to day. I've barely dropped below 80% with each of these buds on a day-to-day basis, and that's with hours of listening before I actually take them off, put them back in the charge case, and get them charged up to 100% again. Regarding the software though, Google has baked in certain parts of Gemini for you to use here. Touch controls give access to the AI assistant, similar to how the previous version allowed access to the Google Assistant with a quick tap and hold. And you can still activate this if you do want that. The integration this time around feels a little bit lackluster. I was expecting a shortcut to access Gemini Live with ease, but instead it's required for you to say the Google wake word, then "Let's talk live" or something similar to those lines, and it will start. Doing so begins a Gemini Live session with no visuals and only a notification on your phone which gives you a time counter to show how long the session has been ongoing. I do like that aspect actually, because it's nice to see how long you've been talking to the system. I think it works fine, but it feels a little bit tacked on. Gemini Live is great for getting things like overviews and information in a conversational format, but I think it could be more useful in this instance. Maybe it could do things like start a fitness routine if you asked it, or even give you feedback on your current workout progress, things like your heart rate, records, all those kind of things, and even sets that you've done in the gym. I think that would be a really nice addition if you could ask and get Gemini to record them in Fitbit, whatever fitness application that you're using, but for now it's pretty basic. I mean, I will say it is nice to be able to start a Gemini Live session, turn your phone screen off and then just chat. The experience definitely feels less forced than it might be on a Pixel phone, at least in that regard. It's just a little shoehorned in, despite the really immense and impressive potential. In terms of the overall audio quality, which is something an audio product lives and dies by, I haven't been entirely blown away with the Pixel Buds Pro 2. Then again, the original version didn't really do the trick for me either. These buds sound a little too boosted at the low end, and the highs, like in musical tracks with cymbals and hi-hats, I think there's a slight lack of detail. Complaints aside, there are audio improvements here, and they're quite noticeable over the previous generation, which I think is important as the first generation did require serious EQ to be better for anything other than casual listening. Google really has no excuse though for the lack of high quality audio codec support this time around. Once again, you only get AAC and SBC, which is really flabbergasting for a $229 audio product. I am hoping that a software update could resolve this, and maybe we'll get LC3 at the very least, but for now, you're limited to two fairly middling codecs that, although widely supported, are just not quite high quality enough for a product of this price point. And although this isn't the most scientific way to show you or give you an indication of what the audio quality is like, listen to this, put some headphones on, listen to this. This is the Pixel Buds Pro 2 compared to the Pixel Buds Pro 1 audio, so at least you can have an idea of the slight differences between them. So as I say, this isn't the most scientific, but it might be a way to give you an indication of the changes. Aside from musical tracks, I think spoken word like podcasts and videos, they definitely have rich, deep voices that feel like more of a stylistic choice. It's almost like all spoken word sounds like a well-tuned podcast, at least to my ear. I like this, but you might not. So if you are a podcast listener, a heavy podcast listener to that, like I am, then you might want to try these at the very least before you go out and make that purchase. Circling back though, Google did add some EQ adjustments a while back for the original Pixel Buds Pro, and this model definitely carries that feature over. With that said, you can adjust the audio profile based upon your preferences if you want to, and I do think you might want to do so because it makes a difference, and I suggest doing some research into this as people do get to grips with the audio nuances here, because I don't necessarily think that the audio is the biggest selling point of the Pixel Buds, and now again with the Pixel Buds Pro 2. Google claims that the new A1 chip inside each of these earbuds is able to process sound 90 times faster than the speed of sound, and that plays into ANC and transparency processing as well. Both of those work really fine, but again, they're not perfect. You can still get that same pressurized feeling when ANC turns on, and both modes do wonders to mess around with the audio quality, which again, as I said, is fairly middling. ANC is also tied heavily to that in-ear fit, and the sound reduction levels are yet another area of substantial improvement, I will admit. Don't expect complete silence in every sort of area, but most ambient noise in a room is heavily reduced. In tandem with plain audio, I think you'll have a better, more isolated listen experience. I will note that I am hearing a very minor electronic hiss when ANC is active, but I wouldn't say it's loud enough to be distracting or even problematic, at least at this stage, or so it seems. Transparency mode is a little cleaner this time around and not as scratchy as the original Pixel Buds Pro 2. It's almost like you're not wearing the buds at all, which is a really big compliment. I think this could be among the best transparency modes on any Bluetooth earbuds. That said, I haven't tried every single pair, so let me know any other brands with excellent transparency modes that you'd like to see these compared against, and I'll do my very best to do that in future. All of this just plays into the point that these earbuds aren't necessarily for audio geeks. They were built for productivity, incorporating decent listening modes with easy access to Gemini, your notifications, and just Google's wider array of ecosystem products. They provide good quality through the speakers, but the actual microphone quality, while it has improved, is still not exactly great for use in all scenarios, particularly for fitness, as you'll see in this upcoming clip. Have a listen for yourself and tell me what you think.
It's probably the worst kind of scenario for this particular sub-body effect, but it sounds nice and clear, and even doing it all, as I really strapped that into the headphones and made it sound terrible, but yeah, I think this is, like I said, probably the worst kind of way to text to. Let me know what you think.
So now I'm in a more quiet situation. Hopefully you can get an idea of what it's like to use these buds in a quiet room. That might be the best way to do that when using these for the microphone, but obviously I'm still concerned that the distance between obviously the bud itself and where I'm speaking from. Yeah, you let me know what it sounds like. I'm going to hear this for the first time as well, so that you can get an idea what it's like. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this versus the noise when using it in a gym, for instance. And in the interest of transparency, this is what it sounds like with the original Pixel Buds Pro. Hopefully there's a disparity or a difference you can tell there between these. I think that the buds are a little bit bigger, so I don't know if that helps. But obviously there is some new technology in the newer version. So yeah, let me know what you think the difference is between the original Pixel Buds and the Pixel Buds Pro 2 in terms of sound. These are the original Pixel Buds. So while the microphone quality I think is a little bit disappointing, it has improved. It is something to note that it's not going to be as good as a STEM style product. And then when we start to look at the entire product, I think because of some of the parts, the Pixel Buds Pro 2 are a marked improvement, but maybe not quite enough of an improvement to be even considered among the best earbuds that you can go out and buy. I do think the functions that they do bring are nice, but those looking for some great audio focused earbuds will probably want to look elsewhere. And I would say the OnePlus Buds Pro 3 are a pair of Android focused earbuds that I have no hesitation in recommending, and I will recommend them here once again. I think at $229, the Pixel Buds Pro 2 might be a little bit pricey for what they actually bring to the table, but they're still a pretty fine 6.5 or even 7 out of 10 accessory to pair, particularly with your Pixel products, which makes no mistake is a fairly good score. I'd say that they are just the weakest of the recent Google hardware releases, at least in my opinion. I want to ask you what you think about the Pixel Buds Pro 2 down in the comment sections below. I'm intrigued to hear who's actually copped this latest pair of earbuds. They are a divisive product. I do think there are lots of other options out there, and audiophiles will probably just turn their nose up at them full stop, particularly a Bluetooth pair of earbuds from Google. I want to say thanks for making it to the end of this video, and a big shout out to our channel members on screen now too. After all though, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for tuning in, and I will speak to you later.